Chapter 70. The Free Maisions. The story of the civilization of Atlantis is true. After an earthquake triggered the large-scale movement of a tectonic plate, the city of Atlantis and the entire Lemuria continent were destroyed. They were overturned and sank beneath the ocean. This phenomenon of sinking the continent was, indeed, a plan that we, the 8 highly evolved beings, had intended to happen. Later this became the legend of the 8 gods in Eastern cultures. At that time, human consciousness had declined to the lowest level, similar to the situation in your world right now. Thus, the 8 highly evolved beings decided to take advantage of the weak condition of the Earth's crust and used a technical method to accelerate the collapse of some areas and the rise of others, Ruthorn said. The outcome was satisfactory for us. Vlad's metropolis Atlantis sunk and many people died, but Vlad survived. He managed to evacuate a group of aristocrats, philosophers, and his family, including thousands of his offspring. He moved and resettled east of his original location, what you called Mesopotamia then, and what is called Europe is today. In his bid to monitor our operations closely and obstruct us further, Vlad, instead of acting on his own, established a secret organization in your world to influence important roles in various sectors of politics, government, finance, banking, and the military. All these sectors have since been under the influence of his heirs. Vlad's covert group aimed to transfer the knowledge of his special skills, which they have passed down from generation to generation. He called his organization, the Free Maisons, as maison or mansion, which means home in most European languages. With this move he wanted to demonstrate that he was still the ruler of the world, and that he was free from our control, or, to put it differently, from the control of God. From the moment Vlad started his life in your world, he had created nothing but chaos, and thanks to his immortal key, he's still alive today. But the bad quality of the environment and the weak magnetic power of the planet affected his ability to sustain life eternally. His physical body was gravely affected and almost crippled. Although his body still has some flesh and skin, it had deteriorated to a corpse-like state, but his mind and his soul are still alive. The only way he can rejuvenate his body is by feeding on the fresh blood of animals or humans, which supplies him with living cells that temporarily boost his body. Therefore, he ordered his servants to capture a large number of animals and humans, particularly children, and had them imprisoned to be used as his fresh supply of blood every day. The dead animals and humans are then burnt in the fireplace of his castle. Vlad's story was kept a secret, and his existence and whereabouts still remain a mystery. After the fall of Atlantis, it seemed that Vlad's plan had failed, but it hadn't. Vlad's descendants were clever and very powerful, and they vowed to continue with their operations. That's why it was imperative for us to go to your world. We had to frequently deploy more troops as reinforcement and explore and locate more areas to build new portals. With these new portals, additional troops and resources could now be deployed every 10 years. As I mentioned earlier, an overall of 360 portals were built. Sometimes, we have to travel to Gaia more often, like, for example, this month. When this becomes necessary, we open 2 portals at the same time. Portal number 4, the portal through which you entered here 5 days ago, and portal number 16, which will open tomorrow shortly before noon, Ruthorn explained. Why do you open them one after another if a proper calculation was done before? I asked. Good question, and you are right. Theoretically, they should be opened as calculated, but recently there was a more urgent need. When we were building portal number 15 to support the journeys over the next 110 years, following the departure of a group from portal number 4, we received a message from Gaia warning us that human consciousness was dramatically declining. People hated each other so much that it threatened to cause a new great war, which was undoubtedly fueled by Vlad's descendants. The need for reinforcements to sustain the rotation of planet Gaia was more urgent than ever. So, we decided to build an additional portal immediately within 6 days. We assembled a workforce to build a pyramid as required. This pyramid wasn't very big, so portal number 16 was completed before number 15, and could already be used just 6 days after the last launch from portal number 4. After that, we continued to build more pyramids until we had completed 360 portals. Presently, Vlad's descendants have successfully infiltrated the society of those who control your world's economy, as well as the largest religious organization. You might have learnt about them, haven't you? Ruthorn asked. You mean if I've heard about this secret organization? I asked to clarify what he was asking me. Yes, you have heard me correctly the first time, Ruthorn said solemnly. I've known something about a conspiracy theory or a new world order, and I also heard rumors that even the federal government of the United States is manipulated by this secret organization, but I don't know who they are. I'm not even sure if this is a true story, I replied honestly. Everything that you have said is part of their plan, Ruthorn replied with a serious expression on his face. Even the advertisements are influenced by evil demons, and they have tried to create these feelings of resentment or confusion in an attempt to mislead you that we, the highly evolved beings, are the evil ones instead of them. This concept is often inserted into movies, even in animation movies for kids. They have been teaching you to believe that you have the moral high ground and that you're on the side that is being abused. Hence, you should regard the other side with contempt and hatred. That's right, I have watched many of these movies growing up, I confirmed. Be mindful and observe yourself well, because if you have hatred in your heart, it means that you have already become one of them, Ruthorn continued. Those who can evolve their own consciousness to the highest level of love cannot have even the slightest bit of hatred in their heart. By planting these movies and propaganda in human society, they are manipulating you to become one of them, because when you believe that killing is legitimate, you send out frequencies of hate. If we are attacked and don't defend ourselves, our attackers may hurt or kill us. What do you suggest we do instead? I asked out of curiosity. We have to love our enemies. If you love them with all your heart, you won't treat them the way that you have treated them before, Ruthorn replied. We have always used the strategy of, love thy enemy, against Vlad, and that's why they're still alive today. Well, it seems that what you're doing then isn't very successful, I commented half-jokingly. How do you define success? Ruthorn replied, if you define success as killing or eradicating other people, that isn't our goal. Our true and ultimate victory would be to have him repent and change his ways.